The focus of this recording is on the role of a secondary school coordinator. The secondary school coordinator will enter their username, which is their first and last name, followed by their password, and then click Login. Upon logging in, the first page that appears is the dashboard, and there are quite a few tabs up in the main navigation bar. The first thing we are going to look at is what happens when a student requests an account. When a student submits the account request, which for guidance on that, there is a recording that is for students that walks them through how to request an account and request a voucher. There are also user guides available for this functionality. But upon receiving an email that a student has requested an account at their high school, a secondary school coordinator will head to the Dual Enrollment tab, select it, and click on Student Account Approval. The two panels that populate include the Pending Accounts panel, which is the accounts that have been requested by students, and the Previously Approved Accounts panel. The Previously Approved Accounts panel is helpful for students who may have lost their verification PIN, which is a requirement for the first time a student logs into the system. To resend the verification PIN, simply click on the icon in the row next to the student's name, and this will resend the verification PIN to the student so they have the information they need to sign into their account. For students who have pending accounts, we first want to check the possible match column to make sure that there isn't already a possible account in the system for that student, as we do want to avoid having duplicate accounts created. You are seeing the student's name appear twice. This is our training site, so you will see this as the case for me, but when you are in your actual system, you will not see the student's name duplicated here. But as I said, be mindful of that possible match column. Before I can approve or deny the request, I must select the pencil icon under the Review Request column. This will populate the information that the student entered when they requested their account. This will also populate the student account request questions and the responses on the right side that the student entered. Upon reviewing these responses, I would go ahead and click the checkbox indicating that I have reviewed the student demographic information and account request question responses. Once I make this selection, I am now able to click the Reviewed button. The checkboxes under the Approve and Deny column have appeared for me. If I approve or deny the request, the student will receive notification via email either way. We'll go ahead and approve the request by clicking the Approve checkbox. Then in the Contact Method column, we'll click to Email, and the student's email will populate under the Contact Method Value column. When we're ready, we can click Submit, and that will populate that student's pending account request into the panel below. Once again, if we needed to resend the PIN for any students, we could do so by clicking on the Resend PIN option. Once this has been set where the account has been approved or denied, assuming the account has been approved, the student will use the credentials they set when they requested their account, including their username, which is their first and last name, as well as the password they requested when they requested an account, and they will enter that verification PIN that they receive in the email letting them know that their account has been approved. Once the student walks through the voucher request process, which keep in mind there is a video recording for students to support them in walking through the voucher request process, you are also able to access that video if you would like to take a look at the process for student voucher request. However, once that student does submit their voucher request, you will receive an email letting you know that a student at your school has requested a voucher. You'll head to the Dual Enrollment tab at the top and select Process Voucher Request. When we make this selection, we'll see Vouchers to Review in the top and Completed Vouchers in the bottom panel. To view the details for any specific voucher, we'll select the Details button, and this will provide us with those specific details. For vouchers to review, we'll go ahead and select the pencil icon in the row for the specific student that we're looking for. The student's information that they entered when they requested the voucher will populate for review by the secondary school coordinator. And the personalized learning plan questions that the student also entered when requesting a voucher will populate for review as well. Upon reviewing these responses, the secondary school coordinator will then respond to those questions through the PLP approval questions. In this first text box, we will go ahead and enter the specific learning expectations and/or performance indicators that have been identified for this experience to meet the required standards and graduation proficiencies. In our next panel, which is also red indicating it is required, will indicate how the student has been determined to be academically ready to be successful in this flexible pathway experience. In the final panel, we will enter how the student has been determined to be socially and emotionally ready to be successful. If we had quite a bit of information to enter in any of these panels, we could expand them by selecting the two lines in the corner and dragging to expand the panel. We can do that through any panels throughout our system. Upon completion of those required fields, we'll need to select this checkbox to indicate that we have reviewed the student and coordinator PLP questions. The button to either reject this voucher or to have this button turned to accept will not appear for us until we have completed all required fields. We will go ahead and select an approval decision. If we select no, we will be required to enter a denial reason. The student will receive an email letting them know if their voucher request has been approved or denied. If their request has been denied, the reason for denial will be included in the email. We're going to go ahead and approve the voucher request. The next fields will populate from the student's voucher request process. So the student had answered no for these two questions. We could update them by selecting the field and changing what's listed if necessary. We would then need to indicate if the student is an ELL student and if the student is a special education student. Now that we've met all requirements for this pop-up window of reviewing the voucher request, we are able to click the button which now shows Approve, given that we changed our approval decision to say yes. This voucher will now populate below on the last page for us to review. We're seeing right here that specific voucher, and we could click the Details button to review the different relevant information. Next, we have a tab under dual enrollment called Communication. This tab allows us to send mass communication to all students who have an active account within the system. Keep in mind that 1 year after students graduate, their accounts are automatically inactivating. Therefore, students who do not have an active account, so for example, students who have graduated over a year ago, they will not receive this mass communication. It will only go to students who have an active account in the system. As a secondary school coordinator, I would be required to enter a subject and enter a body in order to get the send button to be visible for me to select. By simply entering a word in each field, the send button is visible for me. This is one of those cases, once again, where I could expand the panel if I had a lengthy amount of information to include. When I'm ready, I could either cancel, which would close out of this communication, or send, which would send that email automatically and immediately to all students with an active account in the system. Next, we'll head up to the Students tab at the top so we can search for students. We can enter filter criteria to find a specific student, or we can simply click View Students, which would allow us to view all students at our school who have an active account. We're going to go ahead and enter filter criteria and select View Students. When I've identified the student, I can select their name. I also have the options to print the results if necessary, export the results, which would pull them to an Excel document, or conduct another search. We're going to select the student's name by clicking on their name under the name column. And now the window will look similar to what it looks like for the student the first time that they log into their site. The student's demographic information will populate. If information needed to be changed here, as the secondary school coordinator, I am able to use the Change Password button to change the password for the student. They can also change the password themselves. And we have the Edit Profile button, which would allow me to make edits to the student's profile if I needed to. As a secondary school coordinator at the student's school, if the student was to initiate a student transfer request, which students do have guidance in how to complete a transfer request, but if I did receive an email letting me know that this student, Donnie Brooks, has put in for a student transfer request, I would be responsible as the secondary school coordinator at his current school to search for Donnie using the Students tab, heading to the Edit Profile button, scrolling down to the School option, and selecting the new school that Donnie is enrolled in. Once I've made that selection, I would simply need to make sure all other required fields have been filled in for Donnie. If any fields are missing, I'm able to update them as the secondary school coordinator. And considering some of these are red, indicating they're required, I would not be able to click that Save button until I've completed each of the required fields. Given that this is not a real scenario, I'm going to close out, but be mindful if the button is not visible for you to click Save, that likely means a required field, something that is in red, has not been completed. We'll go ahead and close out. The next functionality we're going to review is the Voucher Request tab. This lighter blue navigation menu is specific to the student. So if I wanted to know as a secondary school coordinator how many vouchers Donnie has applied for, how many vouchers he has completed, if he's reached his maximum, for example, I would select the Voucher Request button, and this would show me in the top panel what this voucher request window would look like for Donnie. When Donnie looks here, he's going to see that he has already reached the maximum number of dual enrollment vouchers. If this was fast forward tickets, it would reflect the same way, letting the student know if they've reached the maximum number allowed. And I could see the different voucher request tiles that populate for Donnie if he was able to request additional vouchers. I'm now going to head up to the darker blue navigation bar, which is specific to me as the secondary school coordinator. And I'm going to head to the Admin tab as we've completed reviewing the Students tab and the Dual Enrollment tab with each of the options below it. We'll select Admin and click on Reports. The different reports that are available to me will still populate. It's important to make note that the approved pending account request report will still function as previously, but there will be some additional fields that you might not have noticed previously, including the student's mailing and physical address. The functionality for generating a report is the same. We would select the report desired. We can enter specific date range choices. We'll go ahead and select the student account status that's desired, and we would click Generate Report. The report would be added to the queue, meaning that it's in line to be generated. Once the report is ready for me, I will receive an email notification letting me know that my report is ready for me. I would be able to find that housed under my reports inbox. Simply by selecting the name of the report, I'm able to see that this is an Excel format and it's going to load for me in a new window as a download for me to view and print or save as needed. Under the Reports tab, there is access also to the student voucher ticket information report. Simply by hovering over the reports, you are provided by a little blurb that will tell you what information you will be provided with when you download this specific report. Selecting this report, I'm able to pick the college, the school year, the semester, and the specific status I'm looking for the vouchers. Under the My Account tab, which is also under the darker blue navigation bar, I have the ability here to change my password if necessary. I can also update some specific fields for my demographic information. And I have the option in the corner to set my forgotten password question. In order to do that, I'm prompted to provide my current password. This must be entered to complete any changes in this window. And I'm prompted to enter a security question. I have the options to update questions and return, or update questions and add more. To make any other changes to my personal information, I would need to go ahead and enter my current password again, but this would then allow me to update my password or enter any other demographic information that needs to be added or changed. Be certain to always click Save if you do make changes to this window, as the system will not save what you've added if you do not select the Save button. The last tab available is the course catalog. This allows me to search for courses that are offered at different universities or colleges. This is a helpful tool if we're working with students who might not know what courses are available or may not know which courses best meet their interests. We would go ahead and select a location from the options. We could enter other specific fields if desired, including the subject area or the semester, and we'll select Filter Results. If we click Clear Filter, that's going to remove the fields we've entered. So we don't want to do that. We're going to filter our results. If there's a specific subject the student is interested in or a specific course topic we are looking for, we do have the search option over here in the corner that will allow us to enter specific information, and it will populate the courses that fit under that filter criteria. Information tied to each course will populate, but importantly, students should be mindful of the drop date. If a student drops a course after the indicated drop date, the voucher will be counted against them. They will not be able to use that voucher again, even though they didn't finish the course, if they drop after the drop date. If they drop before the before the drop date, the voucher will be returned to them and they will be able to use it in the future. Additional information can be found by hovering over the description. And for some of the courses, it will explain to you what that specific course entails. From anywhere in the system, we can select the home icon or the Ed Plan icon, and it will bring us back to our main dashboard. Some important points to be mindful of is we do have a resource library. This is where you will find access to the user guides that will walk you through different parts of the system, as well as the students. There are some specific student guides. There's guides for you as secondary school coordinators, and of course there are guides here as well for folks who work at the colleges and universities. We also have the help desk using this little envelope icon in the corner. When you select this option, you are able to get in touch with the help desk, who is working to help you navigate any challenges you might encounter as you're familiarizing yourself with the system. You may be prompted to log in when you select the envelope icon, and if so, your login credentials are the same username and password that you use to get into the dual enrollment system. Aside from that, you do want to be certain to click this arrow to log out securely and to be sure that all of the information you've entered is tucked away securely in the system. That will populate the login page once again if you needed to log in again. This concludes our demonstration of the changes and the functionality of the system. Please be sure to pull the user guides and to get in touch with the help desk if you have any difficulties navigating your system enhancements.